Hello and welcome to True Crime and Makeup. Today we are doing a makeup look for Disney's Bolt.
Simpson was there that night, sharing his friend's joy.
When you saw them in the room, you knew that they loved each other.
Young professional college graduates, Nia and Michael, have their whole lives ahead of them.
They're on the doorstep to happiness. They were painting that white picket fence together. You know, they had found love.
The world is theirs for the taking. Until they head back home to Jersey City. They think they'll soon be tucked in bed. LaTonia's night is just starting. She and close friend, 19-year-old Darmelia Lawrence, are in the mood to experiment. She wants to do something she's never done before.
Where'd you get that? There's always one more thrill. Always. The only problem is, she employs the devil to help her get that thrill.
How'd you get that? Shaquan
With these.
has just what she's looking for. Guns.
Let me hold one.
LaTonia says, I've never fired a weapon before. I don't know what it's like to fire a gun. I want to know what it's like to fire a gun.
I want to shoot a gun.
That seems like it'll be some fun.
Let's go shoot a gun.
Young people have a tendency to do bad behavior in a group that they would never do on their own. She went along with everything because she wanted to.
Supercharged with adrenaline, youth, and curiosity, 19-year-old LaTonia Bellamy wants to know how it feels to fire a gun.
I want to shoot a gun.
She's a normal college girl, home from spring break. Things just got out of hand.
3 a.m., April 4th, 2010.
A bang bang, you're dead.
She's roaming the streets with
I'll eat
19-year-olds.
and I'll be back, guys.
Shaquan Bellamy. Killers then rob their victims.
They stole cell phones, credit cards, cash, wallets, and they stole Nia's engagement ring as well.
Melia Lawrence pleads guilty to armed robbery and
I wouldn't come in all the way, I'm
40
recording.
years in prison.
I know, I'm just letting you know.
Shaquan
Take him out,
Bellamy
please.
is
The
convicted
stars
of
in here and
double
they'll fight.
homicide and sentenced to life. LaTonia Bellamy pays a heavy price for her night of thrills. She is convicted of 2 counts of felony murder and carjacking. Her sentence life plus 30 years with a non-parole period of 93 years.
When I first heard, it was a sigh of relief. But knowing that they're even in jail right now does nothing for me. I mean, at the end of the day, Mike and Nia will never be back.
To make sense of this senseless crime, Nia and Mike's friends create a fund in their memory.
We raise money at the restaurant that Mike and Nia had their engagement party at. We do that once a year. So far, we've helped 6 students, and we've given out over $7,000 to date.
Friends of the couple are giving young people a future, something LaTonia Bellamy took from her victims and will never have herself. These deadly women didn't care about the consequences. Angela Simpson went from street crusader to angel of death. Kemi Abdullah was a bored rich kid seeking a horrifying new high. and Latonia Bellamy's teen rebellion took 2 innocent lives. Their pitiless acts expose them as truly heartless. Being the other woman is a bitter, lonely life.
My kids need me.
What about this kid?
Some turn rejection into rage. A girl from the streets plays Russian roulette with a married man.
For the first time in years, she was living the high life. She had it made.
A teen mom-to-be lashes out at her rival.
You stay out of this!
It was just the ultimate episode of jealousy.
I wish I could stay here forever.
And one woman's obsession with another tears a family in 2.
Get off me!
She would have done anything to ensure that they could live happily ever after together.
These deadly women are love-struck and lethal, driven to evil because they refuse to play second best. When you dwell on the fringes,
She was the girl who was trying to find something better, didn't know how to get there.
love can be cheap.
All Brandita wanted was someone to love her.
Threatening me.
And life even cheaper.
She knew that something awful was going to happen.
In Silmar, in the San Fernando Valley, California, 1988, 52-year-old Joan Dolly's job is to bring joy to others.
She worked at the Hallmark store, so you can imagine she was a part of a lot of people's happiest moments as they go in there and buy their cards.
Dennis has been acting weird lately.
But Joan's own Hallmark moments are few and far between.
I think he's having an affair.
Are you sure, Joan?
Her 32-year marriage to childhood sweetheart Dennis is losing its luster.
Dennis was retired Air Force. He looked like just the average Joe, the family man. He had kids at home.
Why were you so late last night?
An old friend turned up at the club.
Oh, really? An old friend.
As Dennis drifts away, Joan pulls on the purse strings.
You've been going through money like water.
Joan really kept tight reins on Dennis.
I earn it.
Not as much as you spend.
Dennis complained to people that his wife just controlled him. That, he wanted to buy certain things. He wanted a boat. He wanted a jacuzzi. She would always hold the purse strings. She'd always say, no, 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 no. You can't have that.
To earn a little spending money of his own, Dennis takes a part-time job at the local golf course.
People saw Dennis as a happily married man, but they didn't know about his secret life.
In his spare time, Dennis enjoys more vigorous pursuits.
Dennis frequented the prostitutes on Sepulveda Boulevard up in the San Fernando Valley, not far from their home.
Today, Dennis won't even have to leave work. 31-year-old Brandita Taliano walks right into his life.
Brandita was kind of a typical street prostitute. Worked in the San Fernando Valley.
Hi. Do you work here?
I sure do, sweetheart.
Brandita is a heroin addict from the wrong side of the tracks.
She was the girl who was trying to find something better, didn't know how to get there.
Maybe I'll call you sometime.
Do that.
Oh, you betcha.
Dennis does call, and Brandita sees her new customer as a ticket off the streets.
Here was this guy, this Air Force guy, this golf course guy who had a nice house. And maybe she felt, you know what? Maybe this is my turn.
Brandy revels in this extravagant new life. As the months go by, the bill goes up.
Something was happening with Brandy and Dennis far beyond the hooker and a John. I mean, he paid for her apartment, he bought her food, he got her a car.
Dennis spends all his time
You're an expensive habit.
and money away from home. 55-year-old Joan has had enough. In 1991, she's handed a ticket to freedom.
Joan had inherited $70,000 from her mother passing away.
And because it was left as an inheritance, it meant that it was all hers. She didn't have to share it with her husband. So that was her way out.
You're not getting the house.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
She was prepared now to move forward with the divorce because she could then afford to maintain her lifestyle without very much change.
So you expect to get all of your inheritance plus half of my assets?
Divorce means Dennis will lose everything he holds dear, his money and his mistress.
I think Dennis realized his financial life was about to be seriously affected.
He didn't want to be left with nothing. He didn't want to split his pension with her.
You threatening me?
Yeah, I am.
Dennis desperately wanted to prevent his wife from divorcing him because it would have financially devastated him.
On a spring morning in 1991, one of Joan's co-workers calls at their home.
Mrs. Dolly did not show up at the Hallmark store to work.
Joan!
Her friend, who was the owner,
Anybody home?
became deeply concerned and was unable to rouse anybody at the door.
So she let herself in the house and found Joan's body.
Joan has been bludgeoned to death. Come crashing down.
They searched her apartment and found a bunch of jewelry. Guess who that jewelry used to belong to?
Dennis Dolly, live it up. Thanks to an inheritance from Dennis's murdered wife, Joan.
2 years after a crime has passed is enough time for the perpetrator to become comfortable, to think that maybe they got away with it.
But their party is about to end. Brandita is arrested on a drugs charge.
Brandy gets arrested. And when she gets arrested, the cops think about that old case involving Joan's murder. And they think also about the advances in DNA.
By now, DNA analysis is common. The tissue found under Joan's nails matches Brandy's DNA. And there's something else tying her to the crime.
During the course of her detention there, they discovered all this jewelry in the bottom of her purse. And it just happened to be Joan Dolly's jewelry.
This isn't Brandy's first stint in prison. A few years earlier, when Brandy Taliano is locked up for theft, she has one loyal visitor, Dennis Dolly.
Hey, how you doing?
Brandita was in and out of custody.
How you think I'm doing? Have you got the stuff?
Dennis started visiting her in jail.
He bought her drugs when she needed drugs.
Dennis wants something in return.
You got someone, you know, for the big job.
During one of those visits to the jail, the subject came up that he needed help. He needed someone to help him with a big job. And did Brandy know anybody?
His name's Gary. He'll do it for the money.
And Brandy came back with a couple of ideas, a couple of gang members from LA.
The big job is to kill Dennis's wife.
She sleeps on that side. I don't care what you do. You can rape her, beat her, whatever, so long as she's dead.
Dennis tells the two men he's employed to murder his wife of many, many years, the mother of his children, that they can go ahead and rape her if they want to. Just make sure she's dead when it's over. He hated her.
But one of the potential hitmen is arrested on an unrelated charge.
Which put an end to this plan because the two gang members needed each other to do the job, so it halted the plan.
With his divorce looming, Dennis is on a deadline.
It became urgent that he do something quickly.
When his low-class lover is released from jail, Dennis has the answer.
Dennis decides to take matters into his own hands, and he needs some help. He needs Brandy. So he tells Brandy to come over late at night, and he lets her inside.
He probably promised her she'd be the next Mrs. Dolly. And she wanted out of her situation.
Dennis Dolly was armed with a golf club. Mrs. Dolly was asleep in the master bedroom. I don't think she suspected anything until she was startled awake in her bedroom to see Dennis wielding a golf club, this strange woman.
To get the life she wants, Brandita must take Jones.
Brandy grabs her and holds her down.
And that's how Brandita's DNA ended up under the nails of Mrs. Dolly.
She's dead?
They then scrambled through the house, tossed everything.
They just sort of set the stage in a very poor way that a robbery had gone wrong.
They've stolen Jones' life. Now they squander her inheritance.
Dennis spent his ill-gotten gains on a boat, a jacuzzi, a waterbed, and a gazebo. That's what Jones' life and their marriage was worth to him.
With money as a powerful motive and damning DNA evidence, Brandita Taliano and her lover Dennis are charged with the murder of Joan Dolly.
He was the most average guy in the world. No one could believe that inside of him was the ability to be this evil.
In 1997, Dennis Dolly is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. He dies in prison 6 years later.
I don't think Dennis loved Brandy. I don't think he loved Joan. I don't think he loved anything or anyone. Dennis was all about himself.
Brandita Taliano is also convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life. Brandy and Dennis had very different aspirations, but they'd both stop at nothing to get their way.
All Brandita wanted was heroin and someone to love her. All Dennis wanted was someone to have sex with and to help him kill his wife, Joan. And then they met.
Yeah, but what if we get hungry or something tomorrow?
A love triangle has 3 sides.
Both of these women knew they were sharing the same man.
What? Who?
But when that triangle folds,
Nadia went after the person that she thought had ruined her chance of happiness.
desperation takes over.
It was a very personal attack, which was driven by rage and jealousy.
His parents were placing the money for the shoes, so whatever we spent, all my place.
Newark, New Jersey, early 2009. Sharon Owens and Kenny Jones look the picture of happiness.
You gonna donate while I'm at the dentist?
Kenneth Jones
Or wait until
was
I'm out?
involved
We
in
don't know how
a
long you're gonna be in the
long,
dentist.
approximately 8 to 8.5 year relationship with Sharon Owens.
But the couple has recently split.
Okay.
So I can take Elodie this
They had an argument, some sort of a fight,
And
the result of which was that Kenneth Jones moved out.
So I can just get up Wednesday morning.
Sharon wants a break.
But we could go run lunch
But Kenny is keen to reconcile.
Okay.
And then you can do the rest of the week, you know, like you have it.
Right.
At work.
He loved Sharon. He wanted to be back there.
So you'll
with
do
her.
dinner rest with me tonight, though?
Yeah, we'll do dinner rest. We'll do
In the meantime,
Hi, what can I get for you?
Kenny's yearning for company.
Yeah.
He finds it when 18-year-old Nadia Venable starts work.
Nadia Venable met Kenneth Jones through a mutual job in the food services industry.
Kenny is only too happy to show Nadia the ropes.
Nadia seemed like a relatively quiet,
And this is the look I put together for both.
Never caused any uproar.
The attraction is instant.